had a eureka moment here at Beth Shalom, 1410 Coney Island Avenue, because many years ago the Lord led me to study the 25 verses of the book of Yehuda, the next to last book of the Brit Hadashah. And I thought, well, yeah, he wants me to do an inductive Greek course on that. And I didn't realize what he was really driving at, which went far beyond that. We're talking about Yehuda, who was one of the Shlichim, one of the emissaries. 1 Corinthians 9:5. His father was Joseph ben David. He was a direct descendant of King David. His brother was a Shaliach who had seen the Lord and was the leader of the Kehillah in Jerusalem, and very instrumentally used in this great conference that takes place in Acts chapter 15, where they have to decide what to do with the Goyim. What was my eureka moment that the Lord gave me here at Beth Shalom? There are many treasures at Beth Shalom, many valuable books, many wonderful things. It's like the Alexandrian Library. And as I was looking at various books that God had placed in this place through various people, it suddenly occurred to me who Yehuda was. He was one of the Messianic Edat Bnai Yisrael in Jerusalem. But more than that, he was one of the Amudei HaKehillah, one of the pillars. And not only that, but he handed down Massorah HaZekenim of the Messianic Edat Bnai Yisrael. He handed down the authoritative, universally binding Jewish teaching of the HaZekenim of Israel. You say, wait a minute, the Sanhedrin were the HaZekenim of Israel. No, my friend, just as King Saul was supplanted by King David, and the monarchy went through David and not Saul, so the Sanhedrin was supplanted by the HaZekenim, the elders, the Messianic elders, the leaders of the Messianic Edat Bnai Yisrael in Jerusalem. And when he says, this is the emunah handed down once for all to the Kadoshim, in his book, verse 3, I think it is, this means that he is handing on Massorah HaZekenim, authoritative binding Jewish teaching. That's what this is. So, isn't it ironic that it is halakhically forbidden in many Jewish households to have the Massorah HaZekenim of the Messianic Edat Bnai Yisrael? What a sacrilege, what a travesty, what a horror. You see, it is the brother of Yaakov, the half-brother of Yeshua, the half-brother of Yeshua. We're talking about Yehuda. He wrote this little letter. He's alarmed about an emergency situation that has occurred out there on the field of the preaching. Gross immorality invading some of the congregations. Sexually permissive and exploitative religious leaders cropping up. And they're like choking weeds in the garden of the Lord. They're like that rebellious murderer Cain, or that money-hungry preacher Balaam, who was killed for causing the Israelites to lapse into sexual immorality and idolatry. Or they're like Korah, who led a rebellion against Moses. So this it's a short book. It's only 25 verses long. But when I wrote the introduction to this translation, the Lord wanted me to include this so that you could see just how important this Bible is. I'm not talking about my translation. I'm talking about the actual Brit Hadashah. And when I did this book, the complete book for Artists for Israel, I included a Greek course based on Yehuda. And when I did this Bible, I included this very phrase, Massorah, authoritative teaching, Jewish teaching to be passed down inviolate. HaZekenim, of the elders, of the leaders of Messianic Edat Bnai Yisrael in Jerusalem. And so I'm asking God to open your eyes so that you will see what you have, what it really is. And that Jewish homes will suddenly have a Brit Hadashah. And they will suddenly begin studying it. And they will see the heritage that was passed down to them. And when Yehuda pins this little 25-verse letter, he actually is closing the canon, as it were, and saying, this is the Massorah HaZekenim. When the Lord showed me that, I was right here in this room. My mouth fell open. My heart started to beat rapidly. I saw, wow, why did it take me so long for this to finally dawn on me, to understand this? This word Massorah. That's what he's talking about in the 3rd verse of Yehuda. And here, I'm just going to take an ordinary translation here, and I'm just going to read it to you in an ordinary English translation with no Yiddishkeit. It says, verse 3, dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt I had to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all time, once for all, handed down, entrusted to the Kadoshim. And I'm praying right now that you will take another look at the little book of Yehuda in the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Amen.